All right, welcome to the Speak Your Piece podcast. My name is Ian McNaughton, being joined by SYP creator Ravisher. Rav, what's happening?
Hey man, not much. Just schoolwork again. Schoolwork, work, and that's about it right now.
We're recording this podcast on September 22nd, Wednesday night. We did our 2009 NHL Redraft last week, along with some NFL talk. We're not going to do the NFL talk this week because that pushed the podcast about 2 hours. So that was a little long. Plus, SYP creator Scott and I, we're going to be doing a Ryder Cup preview and a Metro Division preview later this week with a special guest. So we're putting out a bunch of content for you, and I'm also going to Alberta, so I'm really busy. I don't have a lot of time to do all this sort of stuff. So if we can save half an hour here, football, great. Yeah, and most people know who to pick anyways in games. It's not pick winning teams. That's the key to betting football, right? Is picking winning teams.
Yeah. I got another free bet tomorrow, so I don't know. I guess we can do that. What's your pick for tomorrow? Tomorrow night.
Thursday night football. I what is it?
Panthers -8 is what I've been told. I think, yeah.
That's probably right, considering Davis Mills is going to be starting for Houston. That's probably right.
I was telling my betting group, I was like, I'll probably just end up taking the Texans because, like, if they win, I get a good amount of money. But it's also like, I was betting Tyrod Taylor was playing, but he's not even playing, so I'm not doing that.
I actually don't mind the Texans haven't been as awful as I thought they would be through like the first 2 weeks, but I was thinking about that too, where it's like you're at home. It's like the one primetime game Houston has this year. It could be interesting. All right. So this week, Rav and I are going to be going through the 2014 NHL draft. We're going to be redrafting that. Same format as last week where we go 10 picks each, top 20. This time we're going to go from 1 to 20 instead of 20 to 1.
21 was also good. It's just like this one like kind of works in a better like draft way.
We're switching it up this week. We're switching it up. We'll probably do 20 to 1 next week for the 2016 NHL redraft prod.
Which that one, I always find that you need to give at least 5 years, and that's like a perfect one.
Yeah, because somebody, I can't remember who it was. Somebody was asking me like 2017 and 2018, and they're trying to get me like, who's your top 5 from that draft? It's like still a little, the jury's still out a little bit on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. There's a few guys I have in this draft that if we did this 3 years ago, they would even be first two rounds because like a lot of these guys like I won't do it. I won't say it yet. I'll say it when the players come up. But yeah, there's a lot of guys that wouldn't have even started playing till like 2018, right?
So yeah, pretty much. I mean, and yeah. I think this draft, I don't know if it's better than the 2009 draft, because I think the 2009 draft, you have a lot of
you do 2013 draft.
Okay,
that one might be sad though.
That one's a little bit sad, but because we did 2009 last week, this one I think is a little bit more top heavy. Because by the time I think we get, I was saying this to you earlier, by the time you get to like 15 to 20, you're maybe reaching on some players, and you're just picking guys who you really like, maybe who aren't the 16th best player in a draft class, but just a guy you really like.
Yeah, for sure.
So Rav gets to go first this week. He gets the first overall pick in our 2014 SYP NHL redraft. Rav, I think we know who you're taking, judging by your shirt. But
this is not an Oilers shirt. This is a Draisaitl shirt. He's on the back.
Oh, okay.
This is not. We don't support Oilers. This is an Oilers non-Oilers podcast right here.
This is an anti-Oilers podcast. And again, this is not a Red Wings jersey. It's a Larkin jersey.
I get my Datsuk one we can match. So number 1 overall in 2014. So 2014, first overall pick was Florida. They won the draft lottery front, and they moved up from second to first. And Florida took right-handed defenseman Aaron Ekblad, and he turned out to be really good. Especially
I like Ekblad. I really like Ekblad.
I think. I mean, he took a while to become really like the elite player that like everyone expected it. Like he was always like a good defenseman, but he wasn't, the what we expected. But now I think he's really became like, especially in the 2020 season, like before COVID, he had a great season. Before he got injured this season, he even had a pretty good season. I think he got Norris votes in his first 2 seasons too, and he like even the year he won the Calder, he got a Norris vote. But he's still a good player. He's been a good player throughout his career. A great pick from Florida, but I mean, you have to take Leon. You have to take Leon Draisaitl. That's why I took number 1 overall in my redraft. He is won the Hart Trophy the season before last. I mean, Art Ross, the guy is a killer, dude. That guy is a great player.
2 years, he has 2 years of 100 plus points. He was on pace for it again this year. 4 years of 50% or higher face-off win percentage.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Hart Trophy. 50% Corsi for or more every year he's been in the league.
The MVP, like, with McDavid on the team, and like it's just a great, like, and then he won the Ted Lindsay, I'm pretty sure, that year. He really cleared it out.
Pearson, I think too, he won best of Pearson.
Yeah, the Pearson, that's the one. Or I think it's called is it called Ted Lindsay now? Like, it's called the Ted Lindsay now.
Best of B is something else. I can't remember what it is now.
Who's the other German-born player that's at 100 points in the NHL besides Draisaitl?
Ooh,
it's one that I don't blame you for not getting, because everyone doesn't know this about him.
A German-born player who's got 100 points.
Yeah, it's not like he's not someone who plays for Germany though. He's like the Steve Nash, where he's like, oh, he's born there, but he plays for Canada.
Oh.
So I don't know if you'll get that one.
Yeah, I'm blanking on guys.
He happened to score 50 goals in 2007.
Oh, is that Danny Heatley?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was from Germany. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was born there.
Okay.
So Mr. All-Star. He's the other guy.
There's an argument that Draisaitl is he probably by the time his career is over, it's going to be the best German hockey player of all time.
I think you could argue at this point he like, if we're not counting Heatley, I think he really is. Like, there's some honorable mentions in there, but like, there's not anyone who's as offensively dominant or even dominant in their best position like as Draisaitl.
So you take Draisaitl first. What's kind of missing from him is the postseason.
The postseason success, especially I don't know, game 4 this season. Like, he really was even. I know it was a 3 overtime game. That was the one I watched fully. And I'm just like, oh, this guy. I mean, yeah, obviously he still had 5 points in 4 games, but it's just when it matters, he seems to not turn it on like as everyone knows he can. But yeah, I mean, he's a good player. He had 2 hat tricks just last season, right? And like, he had a hat trick the season before. He killed in the WHL too. He was great there.
I was going to say, I remember watching him with the Kelowna Rockets. I think he was drafted when he was on Prince Albert, but he got to go play for Kelowna. And I want to say he was on their 2015 Memorial Cup team that year, but I could be wrong. And dude was just insane in junior.
Yeah, he's a great player. I think everyone kind of knew he was going to be at least a top 5 pick in that draft. It was just kind of, it was all over the place that year. I don't think there was really a consensus number 1 that season, from what I remember.
No,
I think Ekblad was the guy, but like it was at the point where it's like, if it went the other way, it would, like, if it went to Draisaitl or someone else, right? It wouldn't be out of the question that it could have happened.
No, I think and I think there was also the point too of like, you need to have that big, strong
the big D, man, and it obviously worked out for Florida because they have a good forward core right now. They got Barkov and Huberdeau. And now they have Ekblad back there. They got Uyghur locked up too. They got a lot of guys there. So, I mean, it's worked out. And then for like right now, it's working out. And they got the goalie too.
Yeah. And, for Edmonton, they got arguably 2 of the best centers in the game right now.
Yeah. I mean, they got the back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, I mean, you shouldn't be able to get swept by any team, but I mean, whatever. You don't talk about that, I guess.
Maybe that's how good the Winnipeg Jets are.
We'll get to the Jets at number 9, though.
So number 2, I got the 2nd overall pick.
So originally that was Sam Reinhart.
Another Buffalo pick.
Yeah, that was he's a great player, by the way. Florida got him too recently for the
Florida
Devin Levi trade, which is a good trade because they didn't need Devin Levi. Whereas, I mean, Buffalo has a lot of goalies, but like Devin Levi doesn't hurt to have too many goalies, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of misses when you get with goalies, right?
It's just another lottery ticket. Like, hopefully that's the one that works out.
Yeah, and he played obviously really good in the in the World Juniors last tournament. Obviously, like it always is hard to judge behind a Canadian defense, especially like with I don't know Byzantine, Fucali, like to name a few. Right. If I want to go further, we can go to like another Buffalo goalie, Tokarski. But
I was gonna go Scott Wedgwood.
Yeah, he was the next one. There's a few in there that like we can go all the way back to that one dream team. I forgot his name now. Oh, it was like the year Crosby was playing. I remember that team was stacked, and they had this one goalie. His name was like I think it was Jeff Glass. Like that's his name. It's so far back, but that's another one that never worked out. But he was on the team that with Crosby.
So, second overall in the 2014 NHL Redraft. Again, it's kind of obvious. Like it's kind of obvious who the 1-2 in this draft class are. So I'm gonna go with David Pastrnak for Boston, who, God, if it wasn't for Kucherov, he might be the next best winger in the league right now.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's really there's a very few wingers as offensively gifted, especially goal scoring wise as this guy. He has one of the best shots in the league. I mean, it's hard to like, I don't even remember him scoring like 35 goals in like 2017, 2018. I swear it's just like last season and like in the COVID season, he was on pace for near 60. I think it was 55. They pull it up here.
But well, I was just gonna say, like, he is like one of the best offensive players in the league. He has one of the best shots. He's a threat on the power play. Yeah. He's got the killer instinct that you look for. I think I don't know if he probably would have, because I think Rask would have probably won the Conn Smythe had the Bruins won the Cup in 2019. But I think Pastrnak was at least a candidate for that Conn Smythe team. He was
17 points in 21 games, 19 points in 24 games. That's pretty good, especially for playoffs. Like I think the leading scorer on St. Louis had around that mark too. No one was really above a point per game on that team. Maybe O'Reilly, but that was about it.
And the cool thing about Pasta is he does have a bit of a personality, and it fits really well with the city of Boston. Like he provides kind of that, Marchand's like the really tough, gritty, grinder type player. And then
Bergeron's like the stand-up guy there. He's got to be there forever. He's the guy who keeps everyone in check. And then you got Pasto's, who's the star.
Passes the star. He's the fun guy. He's the real, charismatic one, the real personable player on the team, which that's why, again, they're one of the best first lines in hockey. Yeah. One of the best lines in hockey is the Marchand Bergeron pasta line.
Perfection line
almost.
Do we call it? I know they're called that, I think, but I don't know. I see why you got the two-way guy in Marchand who can like fight, and then you got Bergeron as a two-way, like one of the best two-way players to like play hockey ever. And then you got one of the best goal scorers. It looks like it, right? It looks like it.
And part of that was too because of the development of Pastrnak, because he was drafted 32nd, 33rd,
25th actually.
25th. He was drafted 25th in this draft. So I mean,
I think that was when let me see, was it McCann before? Yep, McCann was picked right before by us. So nice.
But I mean, like that, like at 25 in the first round, like you're kind of taking a shot in the dark. Like you think this kid's good, but you don't think he's going to be as good as David Pastrnak is now.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's why I got to take him number 2. There's an argument. I don't know if it's a great one, but there is an argument that he could go number 1 in the redraft over Draisaitl. It's just tough when Draisaitl's a center, Pasternak's a right winger.
Draisaitl's a center, and he's so good at winning faceoffs too. And I mean, it's. I know he plays alongside McDavid on the power play, and but 110 points in 70 games in the NHL is saying something. I'm sorry. Even if he's a complete liability defensively, which I don't even think he is. He actually got Selke votes this year, which was wild. Like multiple second place votes, which like I don't know. Might as well let us fucking vote at this point. But he's not that good defensively at all. But I mean, he's there. He can play defense when you need.
Well, that's just the thing. Is that like I can't remember who it was, but somebody put it about how like McDavid and Draisaitl just aren't completely useless on defense this past year. They were like they were just bad. They weren't completely useless. Yeah, which says something, but. Pastrnak is, I think, definitely the second pick in this draft. All-star last year, Maurice Richard winner, 2020.
He'll probably win that again in his career, and yeah, I don't see a Hart Trophy being out of the question. Too, this guy is lethal.
It depends on how this next generation of Bruins players go, because now we're kind of Chara.
We're on to the end of Marchand and Bergeron too. We're kind of getting to that late end because we don't know. I think is Bergeron's up next year, or the year after. I forgot which one.
Bergeron might be gone after this year.
Yeah, this season. But they it sucks that they didn't win a cup with Pastrnak with that core. They might see it still, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. That contract they have those three on is also fucking beautiful GM play work right there. Like they're all arguably like $11-12 million players, especially Marchand and Bergeron and Pastrnak right now too, right?
Yeah. So I got past the two. You can go third. And this is an Oilers pick.
This is an Oilers pick. So the Oilers obviously number 3 overall. Let me pull it up. Leon Draisaitl, center. He was the original pick. Obviously, we already talked about him. One of the best players in hockey right now. And he's a center. And speaking of center, that's who I also picked, the center. He originally got drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning and 2-time Stanley Cup champion now. I'm not forgetting his name. His name is Braden Point. That's who I'm going to take at third overall in this redraft. Obviously, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, World Junior Medal 2015. I mean,
that team was fucking loaded in 20.
Oh yeah, that team was loaded too. Like but I mean, the guy, like in the playoffs, man, that guy just comes through every single time. Braden Point, man, he is absolutely.
What was that point streak he was on in the postseason?
I don't think it was a goal streak.
A goal streak. It was like a 10-game goal streak. He was
there's like talk like he actually had the same amount of goals, same amount of games as he did in the last postseason when they won the first time around. He actually had 10 more assists in 2020 in the bubble. And arguably he's probably more dominant this one with 10 less assists. So I mean that just shows how great he is. Also shout out to what's his name? Stevie Yzerman for going up a few picks in the third round to get this guy. And obviously look how great it worked out. I'll pull up the exact trade in a sec here. I mean, you finish up on.
Well, I was going to say the fascinating part about Point is that he could be the top line center for like
for any team, really. It's like the teams got Crosby and McDavid. It's like
I was gonna say for at least 10 to 15 teams in the league. He's like their number one center. And
also he's on one of like the best contracts. Like he was on one of the best contracts past 3 years. And the 9.5 he's getting is like already a good deal enough. Like like the 9.5 he's gonna get after next season is already like a fucking killer deal.
What I was gonna say is the fact that we talked about this on the last pod about Victor Hedman and like how good he is compared to the other players on the team. Well, fucking Braden Point is one of the best centers in the league, but there's still Kucherov who's on the team. There's still Vasilevsky who's on the team. There's still Hedman who's on the team. Stamkos is on the team. And all of those guys are going to get more attention and they get more attention and they get more publicity than Braden Point, who
I think it is also the thing that like Point isn't the guy like, how Pastrnak is. Yeah, even like Draisaitl is like still like even he's like has somewhat of a social media personality in a sense, but obviously Pasta has like the highest. But like Point doesn't do anything on social media, so like that's just also how he carries himself. He's a more of an underground, low key guy, but I mean he's one of the best hockey players in the world.
He's so good.
It's so fun to watch him play, man. Honestly, like it's actually. It does like make watching Tampa much more fun. Obviously, you got Cooch and all the guys, but like, man, he is electric. He like I remember that goal in that wild Florida game, and I forgot it may have just been game 1 where he scored.
I think it was the first game where it was like the overtime 3-2, 4-3, whatever.
I remember like it was like 5-5, I think, and I remember.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, that's the one where it's like Point scored with like a minute to go, dude. He is so like he's clutch, he's electric, and he's a top tier playoff performer. There's not many guys you want being on your like top like there's like a few better centers than him in the playoffs, honestly, out of the whole league.
So that's a great pick.
Yeah.
Point going third to Edmonton.
So number 4.
Alberta
team. Calgary.
Calgary. I should be wearing my Blasty jersey for this, but I'm not.
So the original pick here was Sam Bennett for 4th overall. Let me see his NHL player comparison if I can pull it up here. He was compared. Dan Stewart from Future Considerations told OHL Prospects Comparisons to Doug Gilmour. He's compared to Doug Gilmour. Obviously didn't turn out like that. Had a bad time in Calgary. Really wasn't.
He was a fourth liner by the time Sutter
again. Yeah, by the time it was done. But he was always a guy.
That was like Bennett would have been the perfect player under Sutter.
Yeah, that's why it was a good pick. Yeah, I don't blame him for the pick because in the playoffs, the guy is great. Obviously, this year got suspended in the playoffs. We had 5 points, 5 games with Florida.
Yeah.
And speaking of Florida, 10 games, 15 points. You know, like I don't know if that's sustainable, but he got a good contract. Like just like we got a 4-year, 4.425, at least for him. That could work out badly or it could work out greatly. I don't know. But to get him, I think they also signed up. They got Verhaeghe too. Those two guys, we'll see how that works out with both of them because obviously they seem like they could say one season wonders, or like especially Bennett maybe just because it's such a small sample size. But that's a guy who I do see in the future that could turn out, which is also a great thing to see just because he was such a high pick and everyone knows he's talented, but maybe on Calgary he wasn't able to show it right.
Oh, totally.
So good, you have for number 4 though.
So number 4, I will take Aaron Ekblad, number 4.
Yeah.
To the Flames, who at this point they'll have Giordano.
We can pull up the team here.
Their defense is fine, and like that's was it 2015 where the Flames played the Canucks in the first.
Yeah, so obviously their defense was fine because we still had prime Sedins. Okay, like we still had a good team. We just got absolutely worked by them. That was hard to watch. Honestly,
that was just a bad matchup.
Yeah, and that was the year I think Yuri Hoodler cooked. So.
Oh, hell yeah. Yuri Hoodler.
Yeah. 76 points, 78 games. Nice.
So, but my point is, so Ekblad, according to Hockey Reference, he has 45.3 point shares and Braden Point has 37 point shares. Now, Point, I think the reason his point shares are lower is because of the fact he can play a little bit of a sheltered role on Tampa.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys that are sharing that.
Bunch of guys. So, yeah. Ekblad, you touched on it, right-handed defenseman, takes a little bit to get to where he is right now, but he's shining right now. I mean, if he's picked by Calgary, he's probably already. I don't know if he's already traded at this point, but maybe they can move out Giordano earlier so they can.
Yeah,
get some help for Ekblad because Ekblad's a really good piece, especially for Calgary to build around right now.
Yeah.
I really love Eric. I love Aaron Ekblad. I was really high on him coming out of junior in the 2014 draft.
Yeah.
I thought that he was going to be a terrific player. He was going to be a great defenseman. I don't know if I ever thought he was going to be the elite, like Scott Niedermayer type Duncan Keith defenseman, but I thought he could be a really top quality defenseman with a good, 6 to 8 years as a top line, top pairing defenseman.
Yeah, and I think it's just going to get better for him. Hopefully, this injury doesn't hurt him too much. I don't think it will. He'll come back into a great team anyway. So that team is so good right now. I think I honestly thought they could have easily went to 7 with Tampa last year. They got really close, but
I thought the Lightning were gonna win that series regardless. But he is a guy like you. He is a guy you have to mention. It's like, oh yeah, Aaron Ekblad wasn't playing. That could have changed the series.
Yeah.
So I got Ekblad going 4th to Calgary.
Yeah, they had a decent defense at this point. Not the worst, but having Ekblad there would have definitely helped with, like, they had a young Brody. Chris Russell was in his prime. He wasn't scoring on his own net in Edmonton yet. They had a few. But then you go down the list. You got Engeland and Raf Diaz and Ladislav Schmid. Kulak's in there. Kulak's a guy 21, played 1 game. Obviously, he's a much better player now. But yeah, there's a lot of guys in there that that were decent, but Ekblad would have, that would have helped them.
Ekblad and Giordano would have been on the same line.
I don't know if they beat Anaheim that year to the conference finals, but Ekblad would have helped. It would have made the Canucks situation worse. Let's just say that. Especially the first season. Like, he played really well in his first season. Obviously, he won the Calder, but yeah, having Ekblad on that team would have been great.
All right, your pick is your next at 5.
Okay, so
I think this is where the things can get a little interesting here.
Yeah, so okay. 2015, Michael Dhaliwal was picked by the New York Islanders.
And you're gonna take him. You're gonna take him again.
No. I'm not dumb, but I'm pretty dumb. So Michael Dhaliwal, someone who looked like, in the OHL looked electrifying, and in the AHL he had a decent season in 2016, 2017. Never showed in the NHL though. He played 26 games this season, 4 points. So I don't know. I don't see him really getting much else in the NHL from now on.
No. Dhaliwal. This is probably peak Dhaliwal at the NHL level.
Yeah, which I think peak Dhaliwal arguably was actually 2018-19. But yeah, probably. Like 2020, 53 games, 10 points, -8 last season, 4 points in 26 games. He's not really someone that's ever worked out, which does suck because he was such a good player. And he looked like he could have been something, at least like a second line, like playmaker, creator. Like, he looked great.
Sure.
So okay. Damn. I'm gonna do this here. So 2014-15. So this is the year after this draft. Islanders. Okay, I have to explain myself. They're third out of 30 in goals for that season. They have 252 goals. A big chunk of that, for obvious reason, was number 1 overall pick in the 2009 draft we talked about in the last podcast. John Tavares, 86 points in 82 games. He's a big part of that. But they got guys like Okposo, a young Ryan Strome.
P.A. Parento on this run.
No, he wasn't. They had Michael Grabner.
Grabowski there too. You go. That's the second time in as many podcasts where I mentioned P.A. Parento.
Yeah. The guy here that could have went was Ekblad if he managed to fall here somehow. That would have been great for him, just because they did have an aging Lubomir Visnovsky, who's a great defenseman in his prime, right? But Ekblad would have been a good replacement there. You guys, you need to hear me out on this one, man. You need to hear me out on this one. Holy shit. 2014-15, their goaltender 10 was Neuwirth and Halak. Halak, obviously a great goalie throughout his career. Neuwirth kind of ended off a bit poorly, but he had a little accident on that.
Are you going where I think you're going here?
Number 5, I picked Thatcher Demko for the New York Islanders. At number 5, 5th overall. Hear me out. Thatcher Demko. Thatcher Demko is my number 5 overall pick in this draft. Okay. And I'm not kidding either. I think he is a top 10 player in this draft. There's no question about it to me. I think he's the best goalie out of this draft so far.
Okay. Hold on. I'm going to cut you off there for a second.
Yeah.
This class, we're still we're just now getting to like the goalie, like the peak of the goalie, like the prime goalie. The goalie, for those who don't know, in the 2014 draft, the goalies I was at least considering taking, right? Okay. You have Demko, Elvis Merzlikins, Igor Shesterkin, Alex Nedeljkovic. Those are like the 4 goalies from this class that I considered taking. And I had Demko 13th in this redraft. Taking him 5, that's a bold strategy, Con. Let me tell you.
Listen. Obviously, I don't know if that would ever happen to goalie top 10. I don't think the Islanders obviously will ever take a goalie in the top 5 ever, for obvious reasons. Rick DiPietro, that one didn't work out. But I don't know. Thatcher Demko played in front of the worst defense in the league this year, arguably by far, the worst defense. And he managed to still pull out a 9-12. And I think his goals saved above expected was also number 1 in the league. I don't see that's what really took it over the edge for me. I think in my head, he's already a top 15 pick. But then I was looking at all the teams, like which team really could use a goalie right about now. This is before they get Varlamov. They take Sorokin in this draft, I'm pretty sure, actually. So that could all, we don't know about that. But Sorokin, obviously, his numbers are always going to be, like everyone's numbers is going to be inflated on the Islanders. Like Leonard was inflated, obviously.
This is a few years before Leonard gets to the Islanders.
Yeah, Leonard and like Varlamov would have never been there. Obviously, I think that this was the draft. I think that Sorokin got taken in, right? I'm pretty sure.
That sounds right.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just in my head, if they get a goalie like him, imagine having one of the best goalies who played in front of the worst defense this year with the best defense right now, arguably one of the best decors. That's what my thought process was. And it's just the Islanders. It's just the Islanders pick for obvious reasons, right? Like it's just a defensive. If Ekblad, there's another, like if there had been another player in front of Ekblad where maybe you take someone else in front of instead of Ekblad number 4, I think Ekblad would have been perfect in number 5. And then I don't have Demko till maybe 11, 12, 13. Maybe I do give him to the Canucks just because that would obviously, we took him 36th the second round, but I don't know. I just thought, like, looking at their team, I'm like, this would have been a good pick. And it's good. I think it's a good pick. I don't know.
We'll make that an SYP poll.
Oh gosh. And then we can have Drake or MJ. Right.
Yeah, pretty much. So Demko has I think he's a good goalie.
I think he's shown the best. He's been the best out of this class so far, for sure. In my opinion, he's shown the best.
I just want to say, no goalie in this draft has played 82 games.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's a few players on my team that have even played like 150 to 200. Those are like skaters. So there's a few. It is a closer draft, but yeah, I mean, you have anything else to say about that one? I guess it was obviously a bold pick.
That might be the hot take. I don't think I have anything that outrageous.
I may have also just messed with your kind of.
You kind of did, yeah. You kind of threw a wrench in mine, but that's all.
Yeah, right. I feel like you will in mine too, though. I don't have anything as wild as that, but I do have some ones like later on where you might not expect it. Okay. But yeah, Demko, a 915 save percentage in front of the worst defense. I don't know. I don't know. I just think that he's only 25 or 26 right now. He's turning 26 at the end of this year. I mean, he's has so many years ahead of him. We signed him for 5x5. We'll see.
Yeah. Can I just ask? You don't have to say the name, but do you have any other goalies taken in this draft?
Yes, I've one.
Okay.
One more.
All right. So number 6 is the Vancouver Canucks.
So I guess do I talk about him, or do we not talk about him?
Should we talk about it? Listen, okay. The pick here is Jake Virtanen. That's the original pick. All right.
Yeah.
We all know how that's gone.
In his peak season, he had 18 goals and 18 assists in 36 games. I have them memorized. 18 goals, 18 assists in 36 games. Right now he's playing for Spartak Moscow. He has a 1-year deal with them.
Yeah. So basically what's going to happen there, he's going to play in Russia for a few years until we all forget him. And then he's going to come back over and sign some PTO with the Penguins or something.
And never play for them.
Never play for them, and then maybe play for the Blackhawks or somebody. Point is, I just think that Virtanen, it was a reach probably as a time.
Yeah, because I was looking at a lot of comparisons as well. I saw one saying Brandon Saad with a higher ceiling, which is rough.
Rough. That's a tough look.
Which also even taking that player at the if that's the comparison, right? You take him. And that's at 2014, 2015. We're talking about Brandon Saad then, which is he wasn't that good. He's still like a 40-point guy. Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
At 6 overall.
At 6th overall to take someone like that. And everyone was obviously so happy about it because you want a guy like that. Like at that, you want a guy who can hit and score. And then you have a guy who's from Langley too. It was such a perfect pick at the time.
Well, the other thing too is that I think we also at this time the NHL is changing in terms of what we're looking for and how we're building teams because now
no one's looking for that now. Braden Point, if you got a player like Braden Point now, he's going the first round, even if we don't know about his future. Like a guy that skilled, it was the reason it really fell was just because of his height.
Well,
which is like a lot of players.
Well, and also picked around this time Ehlers and Nylander. Like that's what we're looking for now in wingers and forwards compared to like Jake Virtanen types or what Jake Virtanen could have been.
Yeah. Who do you have for number 6 though? Speaking of those two.
I'll give you can go with Ehlers. I'll take Ehlers 6 to Vancouver. Ehlers was gonna go 5th in my redraft, but now he goes 6th to Vancouver.
That's who I had in mind as well, number 6.
And pretty much Ehlers. Ehlers is I don't know, best winger in Canada. I guess.
We always that is the consensus. I think Marner, Besser, you got Miller, maybe if you want to throw it to Foley.
Nylander.
I don't think
so here's the thing. I really like Mitch Marner. I love Mitch Marner. And I think it's probably him who's probably the best winger. I think if I would have had to,
for really
not contract wise, just like who would you rather have as a player? I think I would take Mitch Marner.
And we're not counting when Draisaitl plays on the first line, also. Okay, we don't count that.
Yes, we're just like right now wingers. I would probably take Mitch Marner, but in this situation, the Canucks take Ehlers. I would think that they find a way to use him because pretty much you can put him on he's on the first line right now with Besser and Miller.
Yeah. And
away you go. And then you could, I don't know. I don't know if that saves what's his name? Who was the coach before? Was that Willie
Torts? That was Torts, I think, dude. That year.
Torts around that time? No, Torts I think was earlier.
I'm pretty sure Tortorella was 2014-15.
I'm gonna search.
But I think next was Willie. I'll pull it up right now. Who the coach was? You pull it up
because I don't know if Ehlers is enough to say.
It was Willie Desjardins actually.
Yeah, I don't know if Ehlers.
That doesn't say. Yeah, Ehlers doesn't save him, but
because I think Desjardins was just not a good coach at the time anyway, and a good NHL coach at the time. But they at least keep the asset. They have a first line wing. They have right now, if they have Ehlers, they have a first line winger that they can just put in. I don't know, right wing. I guess that's what he is, right wing.
He's a left wing. I'm pretty sure. But to have a guy like that is like last season, 46 points, 47 games. He got injured towards the end, which did suck. But last year was easily going to be.
Didn't he also get the overtime winner against Winnipeg? Or against Edmonton in the first round?
Connor. That was Connor.
That was Connor? 4. Okay.
But yeah, he has one of the best shots in the league, honestly. One of the most underrated ones, I guess you could say. It's because he doesn't really get that.
He plays in Winnipeg and no one gives a shit about the Jets.
Yeah, that is a problem.
So I have him going 6. It's for me. I mean, I'm probably leaning towards Ehlers over Nylander, but it could be a coin flip. Like I think if Nylander, who I had 6 in the redraft, I think if he goes to Vancouver, I still think they're a really good team, and Nylander might be getting first or second line minutes too.
Ehlers was compared to at the time to a similar skill set of Patrick Kane, which I do see nowadays too. I don't see obviously you don't see the hands. You will never really see the hands of Patrick. Kane.
Nobody has the hands that Patrick Kane.
The only one that you could argue would be Datsuk. Maybe McDavid, just because he's so good at the puck and the speed, but Kane has a different set of hands that Datsuk and McDavid do, in my opinion. That guy's sick.
So I have Ehlers 6 to Vancouver. You're on the clock next, 7th to Carolina.
7th. Let me see who they took 7th in the normal. So Hayden Fleury was taken 7th overall in the 2014 draft.
And he's a fine defenseman. He's not a 7th overall defenseman, but he's a fine.
He's a really good defenseman. I think he's a good defense. I think he could be a top 4 guy, but I don't see it anymore.
He's a bottom 4 right now.
He's a bottom 4 right now, but obviously he has that top 4 potential. And I'm pretty sure Ron Francis drafted him this year. That's what got picked from Seattle because Ron Francis is the GM now. So Ron, he's obviously seen him a bunch and knows that he's obviously, I guess, the reason he picked him, he's capable of it. And, the $1.3 million cap, it doesn't hurt. So, it's obviously a good pick for Seattle. I didn't mind it. Went to Anaheim, hopefully just to see, a better change of scenery. It didn't really help. It was kind of about the same, but that's a bit of a downgrade going from Carolina to Anaheim. Just a little bit. He had more points, but I guess more ice time, but also played with the worst team, probably worst defenders.
So you got seventh here. You can change
Carolina's
future.
Carolina's future. They obviously have great wingers right now. They have Svechnikov, Teravainen, Niederreiter, Natchez. There's I don't know I think Trocheck's a center, but there's a lot of guys there. But I think you have to take him here is William Nylander. Nylander is my pick for 7th overall in this redraft. Sorry, you go ahead.
I want to say about Nylander. So his career's been up and down. Like you either love him or hate. You love or hate William Nylander. I will say I do like Nylander. His cap hit is not bad right now.
I think he's a great cap hit. Like 6.9 is not too bad for someone as good as he is.
And he did have probably the best postseason of any Leafs forward last year.
By far. I don't think there was really much of a...
So, and the other thing too is that he is a winger. In case people want to try and make him a center, he isn't.
He can play. He can play center, but I don't see him having like a Max Domi aggression as a center. But his greatest abilities on the wing, and it also doesn't help that he is actually a decent enough face-off taker that he could play the center. So, Sheldon Keefe may want to at some points. I guess it's not bad to experiment like midway through the season when you got you're enough games ahead, but I don't see it working out. And it doesn't need to work out because you're playing Tavares in the middle anyways, most likely, right? So it should.
Well, if you need to get the big line with Tavares, Matthews, and Marner, I guess you can do that. But I'm not a big Nylander at center fan. He's a really good winger. He's easily a second line winger. He could be a first line winger.
He's probably a first line winger on a lot of teams. He's like, I know that like 42 points in 51 games might not scream first liner. It could. I mean, it is on a lot of teams, but it might not scream like that first line. You also got to remember he's playing like in the first line was either like Hyman, random players like Hyman, Thornton, Galchenyuk all season. Then you got, Mitch and Matthews. You obviously, I think what the Keefe's process in that thing was, you kind of just want to spread the wealth. You want Tavares.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's what he's trying to do. Like I don't think
which did work throughout the season for like they were number one in the division.
Mm-hmm. So you got Nylander 7th to the Hurricanes.
Yeah, that's who I got. I mean, I don't know. Did you have him going next to right after that?
So pretty much I had Ehlers 5th. I had Nylander 6th.
Yeah, so excluding my Demko pick, that's it. That's the order we had.
Pretty much. I got 8 here.
So eighth was William Nylander to the Leafs.
Okay. So we talked about Nylander. He's really good. He's obviously a good pick. My 8th pick for the Maple Leafs. It's Dylan Larkin. It's
Dylan Larkin.
It's Dylan Larkin. So you and I have had lots of conversations on Dylan Larkin, and he is the captain of the Red Wings, heart and soul guy of the team. I don't know if he gets enough attention for how good I think people know he's good. I don't know if he is really meant to be he's not like a Tavares top line center, but he can play top line and he's doing really good. He's probably, when the Red Wings start becoming good again, like in the next, 5 years here, he might fit the Bo Horvat role. That might be where Larkin fits. But man, I love the dude. I think he's a great guy. He can score.
Yeah.
He's been playing better defensive hockey like these last 2 years even like this past year where the team was still not that good.
Yeah.
He was playing good defensive hockey.
Yeah, no, I mean, you also got to remember it's the team he's playing on. Obviously, like you touched on it a lot. He's going to be, I see him on many teams being a second line center, but like, I think he can definitely become the first line center. Even like he plays like he plays pretty well on Detroit. He reminds me of I guess just like a much like less of a Datsuk in a sense. Like if to compare to Detroit, just because of he does have the two-way game. I just don't think it's to the level of a first line player quite yet. Which I don't know. It definitely can improve. He's such a good player.
It's almost like Zetterberg without the speed.
Right. That's what I was about to say.
That's what makes him so cool is the fact that he's like a complete two-way center. He can play first line. He's having to play first line minutes on this Detroit team because of the fact that they stink. Yeah. And again, in the next 5 years, I see him taking a liking to more of the Bo Horvat. Bo Horvat could play first line minutes, but
Bo Horvat's like another guy who probably could play first line, probably on Detroit for sure.
Probably on Detroit, he could be our first line center, but he's fitting in really well on the second line role too.
Yeah,
and he's the captain of the team. It's a weird fit. It's weird imagining seeing Larkin in a Maple Leafs jersey because he's like from Michigan, local kid. Like it's a great story.
Yeah, it's what we wanted for Tannen to be, right?
Kind of, yeah. That's kind of what the expectations were, and it's worked out in Detroit, and it hasn't worked out in Vancouver.
Yeah,
but
that's a good pick. That's who I had as well, essentially. Okay. There, I kind of had like slash, like depending on what the Leafs wanted. Number 9 Jets.
They took Ehlers here.
Ehlers, yeah. So Ehlers, we talked about him. I'm gonna go. I'm not going with a scoring winger. I mean, he is, but it's more of a two-way guy in Sam Reinhart.
Okay,
that's who I'm gonna go with there. Sam Reinhart, obviously, right now he's on the Florida Panthers. Just got traded. But Sam Reinhart, he's been a great player for Buffalo. I don't think Buffalo is necessarily mad with that pick. For like, obviously now he's not there, but he's actually a really good player for that team.
The Buffalo thing is more about the Sabres than Sam Reinhart.
Yeah.
Like Sam Reinhart is not the reason why the Sabres are where they're at right now. Like
you also remember, like, I mean, maybe if you're obviously plus minus, you don't want to really look at that minus 97 in his career, but he's playing for the worst team.
I'll be honest. I had like Ehlers 5th, Nylander 6th, and then I debated between Larkin, Arvidsson, Reinhart. And pretty much I liked Larkin because I love him in his role in Detroit and what he's become as a center. So I had to go with Larkin. Reinhart, that dude is a really good second line center. You don't want him, like he's the guy that you probably don't want playing on the first line. You'd rather have him in that second. It's not the Larkin
perfect second liner, and maybe you put him on the first line power play, and he could definitely be a penalty killer. I think he's a decent player. Like he's obviously a really good two-way player.
Absolutely. I just like it's more like Larkin can play first line minutes, and I'm okay with him playing first line minutes. Reinhart, you probably don't want playing first line minutes a whole lot as center, and that's why Reinhart was below Larkin.
Yeah, that's essentially my reasoning too. Yeah, Sam Reinhart.
And he gives Winnipeg a real center.
Yeah, and he can play right wing too. He's a center, like right wing ish player there. Like it's a good player to have. And I think at that time their center core, I don't know if Scheifele really wasn't taking off yet. He had 50 points, 49 points in 82 games, but Ryan Little and then Ladd was a leading scorer, 62 points. You know, Reinhart would definitely get as many points as Ladd, and probably I don't know. It's better because he's also a center and a right winger, so it does work out in both ways. Vander Kane played on the team as well in the 2014-15 season as well. TG Gagliardi, it's another one. Patrice Cormier, former captain of the Canadian.
Okay, we can probably speed it up. You're talking about Patrice Cormier. We can probably speed this up a little bit.
So yeah, I think we both agree on that one, do we?
Yeah, I think
it's a mix. It's kind of getting to the point where like it's just what you think works.
It's what you like.
Yeah, because I think the top 5 was meant to be that, and I screwed it at 5th.
But you like Demko, so like you're gonna make that.
Yeah, Okay. So number 10, the Ducks. So I
could really fuck with Scott's Ducks here once again.
Yeah. So in July 5th of 2013, the Ducks acquired Silfverberg, a first round pick in 2014, and Stefan Nason from the Ottawa Senators. Yeah, he also got traded this year, actually. Pretty sure, right? He also got traded.
I saw Nason's name signed somewhere. I can't remember where.
I think he was in that like small trade, like Barabanov for just like Nason. Remember that, like the Leafs.
Yeah, so he was a part. So he got sent to Toronto.
Yeah, for Barabanov
as a taxi squad guy. Okay, so now he's playing in Carolina.
Oh, yeah, he did get signed. That's good.
That's what I'm saying.
He's a decent like bottom six replacement player.
Pretty much, like So after his tenure with the Leafs on July 31st, he signed a 1-year, $750,000 contract with the Hurricanes.
Yeah, he can definitely be a bottom guy there. He could definitely get some minutes. Probably a healthy scratch, but he's not bad. So the trade was Silfverberg, Nason, and a first, which ended up being 10th overall in this draft, obviously. Traded to the Ottawa Senators for Bobby Ryan. That's where that first round pick here.
And honestly, I mean,
in the end, I don't think Ottawa really lost this trade.
I was going to say, I think it worked out for both sides.
Yeah, because like Silfverberg's still there. Richie obviously isn't, and Nason never really worked out. I don't know if he's going to really work out. He was a younger guy then. I think he's 26 now. He's probably 20 around there. So he's obviously a guy that, may have had some potential.
We talked about Silfverberg on the last podcast.
Yeah.
And Ottawa with Bobby Ryan got almost 1 goal away from a Cup Finals.
Yeah. So, I mean, Bobby Ryan was also a good player there. He was what I expected, like a 50-point guy, and he's a good player, and it's someone you obviously want on the team, someone like him.
So with Anaheim at 10, I will take Victor Arvidsson.
Yeah. So that's a good pick.
So I had Arvidsson ahead of Reinhart. But
I think was that just for the goal scoring?
For the goal scoring, pretty much. But the other thing too, because I compared Arvidsson to Larkin, and it's just like now that Arvidsson's Predators are falling off a little bit, like because Arvidsson was a part of the Cup team with Nashville.
Now he's in LA.
And now he's in LA, but with Nashville the last couple of years, he's dipped from like, I don't know.
He was you honestly in like I think what was the year he got injured? 2018-19, 58 games, 34 goals.
Yeah.
Like that's a 45 goal score that you had. And obviously the past 2 seasons hasn't worked out, but really hasn't worked out for Nashville either.
Well, and that's like Nashville's a defensive team. Like Nashville, if you look through the history of the Predators, they've never had.
Yeah, like Forsberg is arguably
their best scoring forward in history.
He's a point per game like scorer on multiple teams.
And Nashville offensively, it's never had. Historically, they've never really had a lot of guys who can get to a point.
Yeah, they never had a guy, who's reached point per game really.
So with Arvidsson, Anaheim gets what they think they're getting in Nick Richie.
Yeah.
The dude can score. He'll put up a bunch of points. He can replace Bobby Ryan. He can be the leader of the team right now because they won't trade him because they want too much for Victor Arvidsson. But now he's going to go to LA in real life.
Probably play alongside Danault, maybe.
I would think so. You get the second line.
If you get some Kopitar time, which I don't think it's far off the table, which is also good for him.
He's going to be on the power play, you would think. Right?
Yeah, he would. He's probably like first line left wing, like 1T. He has a good shot, obviously.
So according to Daily Faceoff has Arvidsson as the first line right winger with Kopitar and Iafallo, and then Danault, Brown, and Kempe are on the
Brown and Kempe. That's not too bad. I don't see that team squeak. They could squeak in. Obviously, the Pacific's open this year, but I don't see them squeaking in past probably our team, my team, or even Edmonton.
Scott and I are going to do a full-on Pacific preview, so I don't want to spoil my picks there. But I think the Kings will be good. Yeah. And Arvidsson's just going to score a bunch of goals.
Yeah, and you shouldn't look at the 25 points in 50 games and the 28 points like the past few seasons just because Nashville's players haven't worked out. Duchesne hasn't worked out at all. Johansen did work out at first, not working out now.
Kyle Turris didn't work out.
Kyle Turris, that was bad too, and obviously I don't know if he got bought up by Edmonton. I feel like we talked about this last podcast too, but like I forgot if he got bought up by Edmonton, but. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that just haven't worked out in Nashville. I have my Nashville jersey back there. There's my Nashville jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I threw that one there just because I guess for the next pick, which I'm doing. But yeah, Arvidsson's a good player. I think he'll get back to like the 25 goal mark. I think he can get back to the 60-point mark this year, no question.
Yeah,
50.
in LA, in a new place, with a better team. I don't know if the Kings are going to be.
And the morale, I think, is much more higher
in
LA right now, just because you got like probably the best prospect core. You got so many young guys coming up, and it's going to be great to see what LA can do in the next few years.
So you got Nashville at 11 here.
Nashville,
and they took Kevin Fiala.
Kevin Fiala. I have two guys here that one of the names is Kevin Fiala. And I didn't make my mind up then. I don't know if I can even make my mind up now. So let me pull up the Predators. Yeah, this was we're getting to the point here where we don't really, it's getting to the point where we don't know what, I don't know what you need. I don't know what this team needs. Nashville in 2015, the year after, obviously a great year. And the year after that, 2 years after that, they ended up going to the finals. They had a great regular season, 47, 25, and 10. Rene was great. I think their leading scorer was Forsberg. Mike Ribeiro.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, Yossi Weber's still on the team, but you know what? The guy they're missing, I always thought they're still missing it now. Obviously, I think Arvidsson was meant to be that guy, but just like a pure goal scorer. And I have two guys here. One is more of a goal scorer, and I think I might take him here. Do I take him? I think I might take him here. I'm going to take current Detroit Red Wing Jacob Vrana.
Oh,
Jacob Vrana at 11. He got traded this year for the Anthony Mantha, Jacob Vrana, a little swap, kind of, not really a swap, obviously, but it worked out for both teams, I guess. At first, it looked like it, but then I don't know, Mantha kind of, I don't know what happened there.
I said with Scott, essentially, if you're the Red Wings, you're trading Mantha's power for Vrana's speed. That's essentially what you're doing.
And it worked out. I mean, Vrana's going to be sheltered when you're playing with Ovechkin. Like you're never going to get, I don't think you're really going to be able to get like a good goal scoring. Like you're never going to see as many goals because you're on team with Ovechkin. You don't get the power play time in the right positions and all that. You're not going to get the priority with the puck. But Vrana played great in Detroit, and I assume he's going to have a great season this year. I saw some hot takes saying he can get to like the 35, 40 goal mark, which I don't think Detroit has the talent for that, but I see him getting 30. He could get 30 in this year, like 60 points.
I was going to say, as a Red Wings fan, I'd be happy if he got 50 points this year. I would be happy if he got around 50 points. 60 is stretching it. 50 I'd be happy with.
Yeah. I still think he can get 60 points. I think he is probably right now, he may be their best pure offensive player. Like maybe
Tyler Bertuzzi's unvaccinated, so he's not.
Yeah. Tyler Bertuzzi, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think he gets it just because of the games he'll lose going to Canada. Also, that's also good. Is that play of the day by Tyler Bertuzzi, knowing he plays in a division with 3 Canadian teams and not getting vaccinated. I'm pretty sure he loses around $300,000 to $400,000 worth of pay.
I heard it was $450,000 Bertuzzi loses from not.
Oof, that's rough.
But
Zach Ronaldo's worse though. He's losing 500. He went from $750K to $250 AHL salary.
Well, he also fucking supported the PPC, which I think ethically is worse than.
Ethically is probably worse. I think more people probably hate that about him than the vaccine stance. Which he also technically, I guess he did say he wasn't anti-vax or whatever, but also didn't.
I'm not. Yeah, no. It's that guy. She's like, I'm not against masks. I'm not against vaccines, but I'm for choice, man. My body, my choice. And then at the same time, they just are anti-abortion.
Yeah, it's oh my gosh.
Okay, so you.
I guess I don't know. Yeah, so there I was mixed with taking Fiala, which was the pick right there that they had taken originally, which is also didn't really work out for them. I think there was a Fiala for Granlund deal there.
Yeah,
and then Fiala ended up working out really good in Minnesota. I think he'll have a better season this year too. Last season was the best. Obviously, Kaprizov came in and Zuccarello turned it up a notch. They need a center in there to really have a decent first line. Victor Rask isn't that guy. I don't know if they have the assets for that though. That's where I see like a Montreal may have assets. New York does, but they're not willing to trade Nils Lundqvist.
Anaheim does, but Anaheim doesn't want to give up Zegras or Drysdale. But
yeah, which is again, I don't know. We don't need to get into that because
but I guess my thing is that I had Fiala over Vrana, and
yeah. But I think, I mean, I said like the reason with the Verona thing was they had the guys like Forsberg and even Ribeiro was a playmaker, right? But you need the pure goal scorer, which I see Verona is more of one than Fiala is.
And he's got the speed too. Like Verona's got the speed to like create stuff on his own, especially on that Nashville team.
Yeah, which Fiala does too. He's not a slow player for like at all, but he's someone who might not be a shoot first guy where Verona definitely is.
So. I'll just say it now. I'm taking Fiala 12 to Arizona.
Yeah. Originally, I guess it was Brandon Perlini, who I don't know if has a contract anymore.
He's going to be playing for Edmonton next year.
He is on Edmonton, actually. Yeah. So, 1 year, $750K.
Brandon Perlini is that guy who everyone just like keeps like. We all know he's a bust, but he still
wait.
Well, he gets like 3 or 4 more opportunities just to really like make sure that he is a bust before, like they're trying to milk everything out of him to make sure that he is a bust before they officially give up on him.
Yeah, there was like the weird Arizona, Chicago stints. There was
the Detroit.
Well, that one. What was worse? Detroit's was it the Abdelkader season he had in 2020 or the Perlini season? What was worse? Which like 3 to 4 point player was worse?
Probably Abdelkader, because I think he got more playing time than Perlini.
I guess, yeah, and he had less points. I guess he had 1 less point. He had 1 less goal. 1-0.
Anyways, the biggest thing I've said about Kevin Fiala was that like I don't know what he did or what he took in Minnesota, but that dude went from like an okay player to like being like the rep player who just comes and dominates house kids once a week. and it's just like, where the hell did this come from? Like,
and not to say he's like a superstar, but he came in and was really their best player. Like he came in and like was really their best offensive player before Kaprizov. Like he was their best offensive player. For being honest.
They were playing Vancouver in the bubble, and he's like doing the thing where he like gets the when he's crossing like the Canucks blue line, and he's picking the puck up, receiving a pass, puts it through his legs, and crosses the blue line, and it's like, where the fuck did that come from? It's Kevin Fiala. Like, what the hell? And
yeah, that one. Oh man, yeah, that's
I like Fiala. I think he's a good player. I had him ahead of Rana, but still, like that's what that's my biggest takeaway from Fiala. It's just like having the trade from Nashville to Minnesota, where everybody thought like, wow, this is a win for Nashville, or a win for Nashville because they got Granlund. Why the fuck would Minnesota do this? And then Minnesota actually won the trade because Fiala's just a better player. So.
Yeah, but Fiala, that worked out for him, worked out for Minnesota, didn't really work out for Nashville, which like a lot of forwards for that team didn't really work out. So that moves on to 13th, I guess.
13, Washington. Vrana was the original pick here.
He moved up.
I don't know if there's another tier or like we drop like there's a bit of a drop off here. I'm interested to see who you take though at 13.
This one was like I told you, man. Like I kind of like you did have a pick, which was kind of mess with it, but like so I've been trying to gauge what the Capitals. I think I might just go with my next guy, which you didn't. I don't think you have in yours. Again, it's it doesn't. It might not look like it's a pick that I guess it's a pick you might not expect again. I'll go for it. 13th, Washington Capitals. In the redraft, I select Igor Shesterkin. So right now, they are at this point, like the next season after this draft, in the 2014-15 season, they had Braden Holtby. You had a great season, 923 save percentage. They didn't really have a backup yet. They had Justin Peters, who wasn't really good. Grubauer is still young, 23. So I mean, they had a few goalies there. But yeah, Peters didn't work out. But I think it was the thing for me was with the goalies, you're waiting 5-6 years, sometimes 7, like in big cases, like for these guys to come up. You know, it's been It's been 7 years since his draft, and only Shesterkin's hasn't even. I don't think he's even played 60, 70 games like as many as Demko has, because Demko's played 72 in the regular season. So
Demko's played the most games of any goalie in this class.
Yeah, I think Washington was already going to be done with Holtby by the end of like 2018-19. I think that's what the plan was, because they did have guys like Grubauer, even at the point in 2015, because they still had Grubauer. I don't know when they got Samsonov and like the Vaneceks and all that, but they also have a lot of goalies still. They have Copley. They even got Lundqvist last year before the heart surgery and all that stuff. But
Craig Anderson was getting time as a goalie in the playoffs.
Craig Anderson, there's another one. They had a lot of goalies this year. Like the Copley, all those guys. But yeah, I think that's just another thing where I think Shesterkin was probably the best next player in this draft. There's two more that I think are on like, I guess, that level of skill, but I guess comparative to a play like a skater. But I think Capitals would like. I think Shesterkin probably would be the best pick in that situation, at least from my eyes, just because I guess later down the line, it also, again, it's the same thing where it doesn't hurt to have more goalies. It doesn't hurt. So I think Shesterkin would be a good fit. And obviously, if it worked out there, I mean, it's not a new thing to have Russian goalies in Washington as well. Obviously, with Varlamov in the past and right now with Samsonov.
I said it earlier. I had Demko going 13th to Washington.
Yeah. And so I guess, I mean, the goalie ended up going there.
Yeah, pretty much. And that was more, I think, Demko, me like taking a best player available. But
yeah.
But also, like, okay.
I guess that's also me overrating Demko compared to you.
Well, like, no, I think it's like how valuable do you think the goaltending position is? And there's a good case for the Islanders and the Capitals needing goalies at this time and later on down the line. So
yeah, I think again with most goalies, you're kind of like waiting for the future. I think that's also what the Spencer Knight situation was meant to be. I don't think anyone expected him to do what he did last year. I don't know if it'll work. You'll probably be the backup this year for Florida, but that's a situation where it works out like greatly for you. But now you're stuck with Bob, obviously, with that contract.
Well, and even a guy in this class, Nedeljkovic, who was on the waivers at the beginning of last season, and then he became the team's go-to netminder, and he was playing
top 3 in rookie
Tampa.
Top 3 Calder voting too, ended up getting traded for third.
And Bernier.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, a goalie I don't think a goalie would be a bad pick there. Yeah, the Stars who are up next was another team that I think probably required one more, just because they had Kari Lettinen, who was definitely at this point he was tapering off. Like he was on the way out. Obviously it worked out in the end because he ended up with Bishop and Hudobin and made it to finals. But yeah, I think right now, like any of these teams, like even down to 30, like a goalie wouldn't hurt.
So 14 with Dallas, they originally take Julius Honka, who I really wanted to work out because he was a dub defenseman, but also Honka's an awesome last name.
Yeah, it is awesome last name, but yeah, he's a guy I think everyone wanted to work. He looked like he was a good player. He had decent World Junior performances, nothing spectacular, but he was a good enough player. But yeah, he was always in big tournaments for Finland as well. So it's obviously like the national team definitely relied on him, but it never ended up working out in the NHL. I don't see it working out now. He's 26, I think. Yeah, 26. He's going to be at the end of this year. I don't see it. You might see one more stint if he's lucky, but like a PTO, but I don't even see that anymore. So
my pick for Dallas here is Devon Toews. Which might be a bit of a reach for some, but
I had him only a few picks lower, actually.
So pretty much Toews, he's had a really good career with the Islanders. He goes to another great defensive team in the Avalanche. One of the
most underrated defensemen in the league by far.
I was going to say one of the best analytical defensemen. Analytically wise, he's a really good defenseman. This is a guy where you're either like if you follow Jay Fresh, like you like this guy. That's the thing. I think if you follow Jay Fresh hockey on Twitter, you're like, oh yeah, that guy's a really good defenseman. And you're looking at his statistics and analytically, he does really well. I don't want to say he plays sheltered roles because I don't think that's fair to him.
He really doesn't now. I think it's like Taves and McCarr now. It's not really. it's really just those two as the top pair now, which is good for him too, because I do believe Taves is a good like defensive player as he is like offensively as well. The numbers don't show it. The point totals will never show it for him.
He's only got. I want to see if I can pull this up. He doesn't have.
He even has 200 games in the NHL, right? Like
yeah. So this is a guy that I really like defensively. He's got 15.7 career point shares, which is like still ahead of Demko. It's like the same with like Jared McCann. It really just depends on if you like the guy. I really like the guy. I think he's a really good defenseman. He goes to the Stars at 14. You got my Red Wings at 15 here. This is the Larkin pick. So,
So Dylan Larkin, we talked about him, worked out, and he's the captain right now of the team.
Don't fuck up this pick.
I don't think I'll fuck it up. It's again, it's the same thing as I had in Predators. It's before I had a choice of 2 wingers, now I have a choice of 2 centers. Because I have Taves going after I had him going to Columbus.
Okay.
15. So it was just like I was looking at the teams again. It's a thing where I go over like what they have. I look at the next season team because that's the team they're like.
That's the team they're going on, and that's what they're.
Yeah, you want to look at that team, at least in my opinion. 2015 Detroit Red Wings, 66 points, 77 games played. That's the leading scorer, Henrik Zetterberg. Datsuk was second, 1 point off, but 13 less games.
They're at the end of the streak here. We're getting to the end of the streak.
Really getting to the end. This is the point where they're like forcing themselves to keep the streak going and just fucking everything up.
We are gonna ruin the health of Zetterberg and maybe the mental health of Datsuk. To keep the streak alive.
Hey, but Abdelkader looks like he's actually gonna become a first line winger one day. Oh wait, no, he's
at this point too. Ken Holland has fucked the team with shitty contracts like Abdelkader. Valtteri Filppula will come back later on.
Stephen Weiss,
good Lord. Danny DeKaiser is going to get a contract.
This is, I think this is
Jimmy. We're relying on Jimmy Howard to be a top 10 goalie. It's not. We know it's like we know all the bad stuff is coming. We're still just believing in ourselves.
Yeah. So the reason I really never end up going at the goalie here was because they did have Mrazek coming up. I guess. I mean, if you want me to go, like that Thomas McCollum could have been something. He was 24, 25 at the time. As at that time, you don't know. So like the goalie situation, you got, and even if McCollum didn't work, you saw Mrazek, which I mean, it's worked out for him at least. 2014, 2015, yeah. So Detroit was a decent team, fringe playoff team, trying to keep the streak going. This is a tough one. I think I might go with Nick Schmaltz here. I think Nick Schmaltz might be the guy.
Okay.
Nick Schmaltz. I was stuck between 2 guys, Nick Schmaltz or Lebank, because those are 2 like decent two-way two-way centers. I think I'm just thinking of what Detroit would take here, and I think they would definitely take a two-way center because that's obviously who they took with Larkin, right?
Yeah. So you're taking Schmaltz. That's your pick here.
I think Schmaltz, just because. It's a thing for me where it's like Schmaltz has played for the worst team throughout his career than like Lebank has, or like San Jose is only really getting bad now, where Schmaltz has been on that team for a long time and it's not really worked out. Like in Arizona, but Schmaltz is a guy who I see as a great two-way winger, or two-way center again. But he's more of a guy who's right now, I'd say he's like a fringe, like average second liner, below average, where he's like a great third liner. He's like that 2C, 3C guy. I see him. He could, like right now, he could be honestly a 2C on Detroit, and like so. Yeah, see, we're at the point we're getting to not the crap shoot, obviously, but we're getting to the point where it's like
Schmaltz is definitely a downgrade from
Larkin, obviously.
Fiala, those guys.
Yeah. I pull up his stats. So 32 points, 52 games last year, 17 minutes a game.
He played for Arizona last year.
And he played for Arizona. Yeah, he was Arizona last year.
Yeah.
He obviously got picked by Chicago, went to Arizona. But I think, yeah, in Chicago, we really got that, like the 52 points in 78 games in the 2018 season. And then the next year he gets traded to Arizona. And it worked out right off the bat there. 17.
That was the hosted deal,
I think it was. I don't know.
The hosted contract dump.
I may have been that one. I completely forgot this trade.
So Schmaltz at 15 That's one pick higher than I had him going into redraft.
Yeah.
I had him going 16.
Yeah, so 16th I had Taves, so just like kind of a switch, I guess, for us there.
Pretty much.
But Detroit, I mean, they're needing a center. Datsuk's out. What was it? Filppula, Glendening.
Yeah,
was that what's going on? Was that what they're trying to do? Let me pull it up here.
Probably.
Sheahan, Helm, Weiss. They consider Franz at a center, apparently. Yeah, that's about it. Thomas Yurko's a guy there.
Thomas Yurko and who's the other? Gustav Nyquist.
Yeah, Gus was good that season though.
Yeah.
Gus had a good few years in Detroit there. But yeah, I think what Detroit would do there, in my opinion, would definitely be the two-way center guy. Schmaltz, I think Schmaltz right now has proven more than Lebank has, although I do think Lebank could probably prove more on a different team or in a different situation with different players right now, just because San Jose is in a crapshoot right now, especially with the Kane stuff, which, yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't have Lebank in my top 20.
Ooh, I was stuck between both of them. Again, it's a thing with Lebank and another guy who I actually do have. I don't know if I'll be able to pick him, because he's like way towards the end. But there's like a few guys down here where we're at that point again where like it's anything goes.
So Columbus is at 16. They take Sonny Milano, who's I actually don't mind as a player. Like, I don't mind.
Yeah,
I know he's not great, but I don't mind what he's.
That player was never going to work out with a Tortorella.
No, it wasn't. No.
So. And in Anaheim last season, I don't know if it really worked out for him either. I expected him to be much better, and he didn't really get much time. 6 games, no points. With the Gulls, he played 2 games. I think there may have been an injury there. He's got a few. I think he got like a year or two to see what he can do. He really hasn't gotten a chance, but I don't see much. He doesn't really scream like a 3rd-line grinder, 4th-line grinder type player to me. He's more of a offensive player, which you don't really want in the bottom 6. But I don't know. We'll see what Anaheim does with him. They have him for one more year.
So Columbus at 16, I'm taking Brandon Montour.
Ooh, Brandon Montour. Yeah, that's a guy who is on my fringe, but I never end up actually putting it in my list.
Montour, lax guy. Montour. Yeah. Buffalo trades a 1st-round pick, isn't it, to Anaheim to get him?
Let me pull it up. I think it was something along those lines.
He was a top 4 guy in Anaheim at the end of when they were getting good. They were looking like a fine team. He was a fine player. Then he goes to Buffalo and he plays like shit in Buffalo because everybody plays like shit in Buffalo. And then they moved.
Yeah,
Then they moved him to Florida. Columbus, I think, is a really good fit for what he does and who he's trying to be as a player. I think he probably stays longer. He probably plays well under Torts. He probably does what Torts wants out of defensemen.
Yeah.
Again, we can go through these picks a little bit faster because Montour is a fine defenseman. It's probably a top 4 guy on the Panthers right now. He'd probably be a top 4 guy on Columbus right now.
Yeah.
He would fit with Torts, but Torts is not there, so I don't know. They might have moved in between now and then to get assets, but he would be a really fun guy to see with the Torts system, with the Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
Adds a little bit of offense, but that's not really
that's not what we're really getting him for. He's more of a 2-way guy, but not like the 2-way guy where you're not thinking of like him as like Hedman level where he can do
he's just,
but he can do them both well.
He's more going to be staying at home, helping the back end, and he might contribute a little bit offensively.
Yeah.
And that's fine for Torts and Columbus at 16. You got the Flyers at 17.
Flyers. This one is also so they picked Travis Sanheim originally. I have him actually here on my list, but list has changed a bit now. So at that point, the next season, 2015, they had Voracek as their leading scorer, 81 points. Giroux. Mark Streit, although he's tapering off, he had 52 points, 81 games as a 37-year-old defenseman. I think Goss Despair, he only played a few games that season, but I guess he was the next up guy there as the offensive defenseman.
I was just saying, like that was the whole thing about Philly for a while there, was that Philly was going to have like these great, crop of young defensemen with, Ghost was like, he like for a few weeks there, he was getting a lot of steam. Ivan Provorov was getting a lot of steam. Sanheim was getting a lot of steam. somebody like a bunch of young top players from
Yeah.
Philadelphia on defense coming through the system.
Yeah. And also like Steve Mason, 51 games, had a great season, 928 save percentage, 3 shutouts. I forgot that also in his rookie season, he had 10 shutouts and he won the Calder. That was wild. Yeah, Voracek, 81 points that season. Don't make the playoffs. Pretty bad team, actually. 33 wins. It was a weird season for them that year. It's obviously it's like the Philly thing where it's like, oh, this year you're gonna make it, next year not, and it's probably still gonna go on this year. I guess last year they didn't make it, they make it this year, which I predict them to make it. Damn, he had 78 penalty minutes. Voracek. He actually didn't lead the team. 58 games. It was Zach Ronaldo who led the team with 102 penalty minutes. Obviously he's we brought him up early.
Who's your pick for the Flyers here?
Yeah. So, yeah. Again, I'm at the point where I'm like, my team's a bit mixed up. I'm all over the place right now. I won't pick Kevin Lebank here. I think I may just go with Sanheim again. I think I might just do the original pick. I think I will go with Travis Sanheim. He's I think just because right now where they're at, they don't have a left. Shane Gostisbehere was meant to be that left-handed offensive guy for them. And then Sanheim could have been like the second guy. Sanheim ended up being more of like an actual like offensive minded. He could be a top pairing defenseman. He's a really good second pairing defenseman, like low level top pairing defenseman. I don't see him. Yeah, I don't know. It's a guy who's
I was gonna say the other thing with the Flyers is that everybody wants to shit on how bad they were last season.
Yeah, and Sanheim had a few bad breaks too. Like especially, I guess it was those 9-goal games against the
Rangers. And I don't think last year is a good representation of how this Flyers team is. Like I think they're better than what they showed last year.
Yeah,
and Sanheim is one of those guys.
Yeah, Sanheim, like from watching him last season, he was not really good defensively. He was borderline garbage in those New York Rangers games. Like he was getting exposed bad. I mean, you also are playing against Zibanejad and Panarin, but you gotta, when you're playing those guys in your division, especially last year more than you usually would. Hopefully you think you get a read on him, but obviously it didn't work out for Sanheim. I still think of him as a really good offensive defenseman. Sometimes the numbers don't show up for him, but he does create a lot of scoring chances. Sanheim's a guy I think I'll go with at 17 just because, I don't know, Gostisbehere is meant to be a left-handed guy. Didn't really work out. And now Sanheim, what's the top pairing? Provorov. It's like Provorov. You got
Ristolainen.
No, we're not doing that. Provorov, Ellis, Sanheim, Ristolainen. That Sanheim Ristolainen line, Sanheim's gonna be getting worked. I hope it's not as bad as for him, but Sanheim is really the guy who has any defensive capability with Ristolainen there. Like Ristolainen's kind of just gonna be a pylon at points, I assume.
Sanheim, I think you still have a bit of a ceiling with him. That's why I don't mind that as a pick. I think he's still got a bit of a ceiling that you can reach.
I also assume like he's gonna work on the defensive game. He's not gonna be as bad as he was last season, which he also over the course of the season, he wasn't. I wouldn't say he's terrible. He's just below average, below what I expect from him. I consider him a really good fourth defenseman on team, a decent third defenseman. He's not a guy you want in your top pairing, though. I don't think.
No.
Some may argue that. I don't think so. I still think Taves is a top line guy in my opinion, even. But I don't know. Sanheim isn't that guy. I feel like you wanted a player who's better defensively. Sanheim's probably a better like power play one, great power play two guy.
So we have 3 picks left in this redraft. We're going 18, 19, 20. I'm going to go 18, 20. Rav's got 19. Minnesota is on the clock here at 18.
So they originally take Tuck.
They take Tuck, and they expose him for Vegas to take.
Yeah.
Not great.
Tuck is actually a guy who I had earlier in the draft, and now I don't know if he might make my next pick here if you don't take him, but Tuck's a guy I had earlier, but kind of fallen off because I've kind of switched it up with a few players here.
I also had Tuck in my top 20, but I'm not going to take him here. I'm going to go with Jared McCann. I'm going to go Jared McCann, center for the Wild. You talked about it earlier. They need a center. He would be a good 2C, 3C for the Wild. He's not a top C.
He's better than Victor Rask right now.
He's better than Victor Rask. I thought he was going to be the third C for Toronto this year. I thought he was going to be like a better Kerfoot.
Yeah.
And now I think he's going to be a really good, probably third C, maybe second C in Seattle this year. I think he's they're going to use him well in Seattle.
He's definitely going to be some penalty killing time and maybe power play even.
He's going to give you both. He's going to give you special teams time. He's going to give you special teams time. He's not going to score the lights out. He's not going to shoot the lights out, but he is going to give you about 30, 40 points a year, some special teams time. And he seems like a good leadership guy. Like he seems like a really nice guy too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he necessarily liked Vancouver. But I think in a healthy season, he could give you 35, 40 points. I think his max will probably be a 50 if you get, especially this season. You don't know. You never know with the expansion teams. He could William Karlsson and that, in which I think he wouldn't mind at all. But you don't know. Who do you have a pick of the William Karlsson of this draft of this team? Ian?
For Seattle?
Yeah, if you got like I guess more of a forward, probably not a defenseman, just because like if there was a defenseman, it would have been like. I don't even know who that'd be. Alexiak. I don't think Giordano does that.
Dennis Cholowski finally gets to where he's supposed to be.
One of those defensemen.
Huh?
One of those defensemen they pick got to be good. They pick so many of them.
Yeah.
One of them's got to break out.
The forward Karlsson on Seattle. I'll probably talk about this on the Pacific preview with Scott.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is a hard thing to say because no one really expected. Cole Lind, I mean, I would hate that, obviously.
I know.
But,
I like Cole Lind, and if maybe not this year, but if Lind can figure it out.
I think he can be a good bottom six guy for you guys this season. He wasn't even that bad like when he played this season. It was just hard to gauge just because he had such little time on ice, and it was just obviously the Canucks season this season was pretty bad to watch. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's really difficult to wage that. I didn't really watch much of him in Kelowna or anything, but
I did in Kelowna. That's why I really like him. Morgan Geekie.
That would be also wild. That would probably be the wildest one. But I guess Karlsson also seemed wild back in the day.
But McCann, I'm going to take McCann, 18. He can be a center for Minnesota. You know what you're getting with him. He's jumped around quite a bit too. I don't know if that's part of I think McCann's issue is that I think he's a good player. It's just between the teams that he's gone to and from.
I don't think he's a locker room cancer per se, but he might be a guy that a team like might not want just because he might be wanting more than he might be worth and all that. Just like from a management perspective.
I mean, I really thought he was going to be a solid player with Toronto, partially because of the Sioux connection with Dubas.
Yeah. Again, it
didn't work out. You have this is your last pick, 19th.
Yeah. So 19th overall, Tampa selected Tony DeAngelo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so he obviously never played for Tampa, went to Arizona, never played for, I think he played maybe for Arizona, maybe a few games, but obviously everyone knows him for the Rangers. And, last season, well, essentially before Aho ripped his pants apart in the bubble, he was really elite defenseman.
He's a really good defenseman. If you just look at his on ice play, I think he's a really good defenseman. And again, similar to like McCann, you know what you're getting with Tony DeAngelo.
Yeah,
I think that's totally fair.
Yeah,
he's one of the right.
No, unfortunately, he's not. I don't think he's in my top 20.
He's not 20.
Yeah. So DeAngelo, I don't know about his Carolina season, how that's gonna work this season. If he's gonna be a scratch guy, comes in occasionally. I don't know if he could scratch a guy who's that good on the power play, but we'll see. I don't know. It depends on him. He's probably worked on the locker room issue, I hope, because now it's like to a point where it is affecting his career, where before it was just like, oh, the team will keep him, but now it's at a point where
he's got some different views than other guys.
Yeah. I mean, he is the team's 100% vaccinated, so he's not an anti-vaxxer. He may have just got he may have had no choice. That's probably one of the conditions of the contract. Let's be honest.
Probably.
So I originally had Sam Bennett here. I'm gonna go with Victor Olofsson. Or do I go with Victor Olofsson? Ooh, just because of the scoring talent they have right now, Victor Olofsson might not be the play there. I actually might keep Bennett. I think I'm going to keep Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett's going to be my pick 19th overall in Tampa Bay. Last year he would have even been on the top 30. I think it's just the way he played in that small sample size this season really turned it up for me a bunch. Like the 15 points in 10 games and the playoffs. That's what it is. Tampa, like that was the season Tampa made to the finals, right? The next season after.
Yeah, that's when they played Chicago.
Yeah, I don't know if obviously Sam Bennett first season, I don't see him being much of a difference there. I don't think he even plays on that Tampa team that year. But not to say that like Sam Bennett is a good, I think at that, like right now, Sam Bennett's a good third, like he's a great third line player, good second line player even. We just have to see what he's going to be like in Florida. This could obviously change. I'm just going to take that pick with Sam Bennett, where it's a guy that will perform in the playoffs. He'll be there when you need him. And that's what Tampa needs because they're going to be in the playoffs deep. Obviously, they were in playoffs deep every single year for the past however long, right? I don't know. You kind of
Sam Bennett did not make my top 20.
Yeah. So I did have Olofsson there. Okay. Olofsson will be now my 20th pick if I were to do it, but I don't know. That again with the Olofsson thing would be like he hasn't got much playing time. Same with Bennett. Well, he has, but he hasn't gotten enough playing time in a good place. Where like again, it's hard to gauge. Like Olofsson is in Buffalo and he's only played 3 seasons. He's more of a late bloomer as well. But yeah, we'll see with both of those. Who do you have for 20? So
20. So here's some options I have that are available for 20. Here's the guys. Here's who we're talking about at 20 here. Alex Tuck, Robbie Fabry,
yeah,
Elvis Merzlikins, Alex Nedeljkovic. You could also draft. I'm just gonna see who else. Is there anybody else that I
Barbashev? Well, actually, one of the highest. That's actually someone who I had next up. If we were going to go even further, he's going to be a 21st pick. Marcus Pettersson is an underrated one there.
Very Kapanen.
The 20th overall pick actually was San Jose's originally. Chicago traded up in that draft. They had the 27th pick. They traded up to the 20th pick. They gave that pick and a 6th pick. Chicago gave the 27th pick and the 62nd overall pick for the 20th overall pick and 179th overall pick back to Chicago. The San Jose Sharks selected Nikolai Goldobin. That one, so that one didn't work out. He played for the Canucks for a bit. It seemed okay, never worked out. And 20th overall originally was Nick Schmaltz, who did work out in Chicago and then ended up going to Arizona.
So my pick at number 20, it's Robbie Fabry. I'm gonna get a Red Wing in there at the very end. I am gonna put Fabry 20th. So
he was the next pick in the draft, actually, 21st overall.
He was 21st. So Fabry, here's the deal with Fabry.
It did take a while for him too, as well.
It took a while. It was weird. He never really worked with the Blues for whatever reason.
I mean, he did because he's a champion, obviously. But
yes, but okay, but he was playing bottom 6 minutes.
Yeah. His rookie season was actually pretty decent, especially the playoffs. He had 15 points in 20 games in the playoffs. Okay, 2016.
So and then in injuries, there's obviously the injury problem with Fabry, trying to stay healthy with him. I just want to mention, this is Steve Yzerman working his genius here. The fact that you can trade Jacob Delarose to St. Louis for Robbie Fabry, a 1-for-1. It's that's a good trade. That works.
I didn't have Robbie Fabry in my top 20, but it's not to say that he was probably going to be 22nd or may have just been 22nd or 23rd.
I originally had him 18th.
I just went with Olofsson just because he had more points and he's been less injury prone than Fabry does, or he has more points relative to how many games he's played.
So let's go through the top 20 here. So Rav goes Draisaitl. I go Pasternak.
Yeah.
You go Point. I go Ekblad.
I go Demko.
You go Demko 5th to the Islanders. Then I take Ehlers. You take Nylander. I take Larkin. And then you go Reinhart. I go Arvidsson 10th. Was Arvidsson 10th or 9th? We have him.
Sorry, Arvidsson was 10th to the Ducks.
Arvidsson was 10th. You take Vrana 11th. No.
Yeah.
Because
the Predators need scoring. So I took
Vrana.
I think the next pick was Arizona Fiala.
And then you took Shesterkin to Washington. I took Devon Taves. You took Nick Schmaltz to my Red Wings. That's a fine pick. It's not Larkin, but it's still a fine pick.
Yeah, I mean, what could you do? What were you gonna do there in that situation, Detroit?
15th, I had Jared McCann.
Jared McCann. Okay. I think maybe it's not a hot take podcast, but I think Schmaltz probably right now is better than McCann is.
I don't think so, but that's a
hot take. Well, I mean, Seattle guy, obviously you gotta, yeah.
Well, no,
I can't say anything about that. I can't say anything about the bias in this one.
Well, no, the problem I have with McCann is the fact that Dubas drafted him, or no, Dubas traded for him on a good trade, and I thought he was going to be the Kerfoot replacement.
Yeah, but I think it was more so like Seattle had two picks there. Like they had McCann or Kerfoot. I guess they saw more McCann, which is fair. I think Kerfoot's probably the better pure offensive guy out of the two. Not to say he's bad as a bad defensively, but McCann's better. That's just how it is. So that's probably why Seattle took him.
So then, oh God, I messed up here. Hold on. So pretty much then, you take Shesterkin to Washington. I take Devon Taves, I believe, to Dallas. You got Schmaltz to Detroit. Columbus, I have them taking Brandon Montour. Philly, they stay with Sanheim. 18, Minnesota, I have them taking McCann. 19, Tampa Bay. They go with Sam Bennett, according to you. And then 20, the Blackhawks, they rounded out with Robbie Fabry. So
I guess we could do some honorable mentions in here.
Elvis Merzlikins.
He's a guy who, I think we just got to see like goalies like him on a good team to really gauge how good he is. It's hard to tell, like good stats. I don't know. He's been pretty good there. I just don't know if he's an average goalie, like a slightly above average goalie, or I don't know. Maybe he might be really good just because he did play against like in front of Werenski and Jones for a bit, which is pretty good. But I don't know. We'll see this season, like with the Korpisalo and the tandem they're gonna have there.
Kevin Lebank is another guy.
Yeah, he was 20th or 21st for me. It was Dvorak, Lebank. I actually had Lebank originally at 15th, but then I changed it up with the Schmaltz pick.
Lebank was not in my top 20. Alex Tuck, Christian Dvorak. Some quality players, like a lot of like.
Oh yeah, for sure. Who's in, yeah. So Olofsson, there's that guy was actually 21st for me. To the St. Louis Blues. I think it could have worked out. Maybe, I don't know. It might not have worked out alongside Tarasenko there. And that's when Tarasenko's really coming into his own as like a 30-40 goal guy. But yeah, like Olofsson in 2020, like his first real season, he got 42 points, 54 games. And then, he was killing it in Rochester in 18-19. Yeah. He was so good in the Swedish for Frölunda. He was really good. He played really good in the Swedish Hockey League. So last season, 32 points, 56 games, pretty good. Minus 23. I mean, last season, I don't gauge for that, like a lot of players. He was probably, honestly, like offensively wise, like he was probably their second best player, if we're being honest. It may have been Dahlin, him, Reinhart, because Reinhart's Reinhart, probably second, let's be honest, actually. Probably, so Olofsson's probably the third most gifted if we exclude Eichel. I think Olofsson's a guy who could probably, I don't know, on another team is a top tier second line winger.
Who's the guy who hasn't worked out in this draft that you still have hopes for? I'm going to say, I'll say Nikita Sherbak.
Oh, I won't say that. I will not say that for sure. I don't see him playing ever like NHL hockey again.
Oh no, he's never going to play in the NHL, but like former Everett Silvertip guy, he was, drafted by Montreal, and it was just like, oh, this guy, like, good winger. He had speed.
I swear he had like a sick goal for Montreal too. I swear, like
possibly. But like Nikita Sherbak, big Nikita Sherbak fan here. Is there a guy that you along the lines of Nikita Sherbak, but just guy you were really hyped for and then it didn't really work out?
Well, I mean, the obvious pick here was Virtanen. 36 points in the COVID season, and it looked like, hey, next year turns up. That's why Benning signed him to the contract. Probably should have signed it to 1 year in hindsight. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the guy. Like, I think every Canucks fan is still hung up on just because of what was available. 2 picks down Nielander, 3 picks down Ehlers, and then if you want to go all the way down to Pasta, there's so many guys that could have worked out in this draft. Nick Ritchie's one that it's one where it's I never expected him to work out. No, I feel like taking him at 10th was also a weird pick for Anaheim, but I mean, he's worked out in his own right. Nick Ritchie's a great player. He's a great bottom 6 player, I think. Where is he now? Toronto? He's on Toronto, right?
Yeah, he's on Toronto.
Yeah, I think that's a good play. Good play by Dubas there to get him. It's obviously every year you want to get those big guys for Toronto to defend the rest of them, and I mean, it never seems to work out. It might work this year. I mean, I don't know if D'Angelo's one I never okay. Well, we won't talk about D'Angelo anymore. We'll leave D'Angelo at that. I think one of the biggest disappointments obviously was Josh Hosang, though.
Hey, Josh Hosang worked out in my NHL 19.
Yeah, he always does.
It always does.
It always works out for him. He's been in a lot of trades here. I'm just looking at hold on. I guess.
Hold on. So Hosang, he was again an okay, junior player with Windsor, right?
Yeah,
fine junior player. And in 53 NHL games, he has 24 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was meant to obviously go much higher in the draft, and then because of all the off ice issues, that didn't work out. He went 28th, got traded around. He's a trade with Beauvillier, Marty St. Louis, Oliver Shillington. Actually that year 30th overall. New Jersey had to pick 30th because of the Kovalchuk penalty. So they took John Quenneville, who I think actually I was looking at John Quenneville's point shares. He has negative point shares. I didn't know that was so that. I mean, just that alone shows how that worked out. I mean, a few guys that did work out. Vanacek 39th, he worked out. Marcus Pettersson worked out for Pittsburgh. He actually got originally drafted by Anaheim. Kasha's a guy who I hope works out this season. But it does suck because I think he is a really good player. The injuries have hurt him.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe Toronto is the place where it finally works out for him. But if he
again, that's a good pick by Dubas.
Well, it's he's another guy where it's if he can stay healthy, look out, that type of thing.
Yeah, I assume just because he'll get a few minutes up on the first line power play time, just because he is so gifted offensively that I do think it could work out. But I don't know. We could see that. Who else is he in here? Shout out to that Buffalo writer saying Jonas Johansen was the worst goalie he's ever seen play. Because he got picked first in the 3rd round.
Well, didn't he go to Colorado and he
he played decent. He
had a couple decent games with them. He won them some games.
Again, it's the goalie thing where you're in front of also you look who you're ahead of. I obviously shout out to Stevie Y for moving up 1 spot, giving up a 7th move up 1 spot, and taking Braden Point instead of Louis Belpedio.
Well, this is also this is a hauling draft. So on the Detroit side, you have look at this: Dylan Larkin, Dominic Turgeon, who's gonna go play the A this year. Christopher N or whatever.
Christopher N. He was a guy I also thought would work out too.
And I really not a lot of
who else is he? There's one guy in here. I forgot. He's
Jake Evans is in this draft, by the way.
Ooh, he was. He could be a good. I think he might get 3rd line minutes this year just because of how everything's going with him. Shout out to Stanley Cup champion Nathan Walker, who's taken 89th overall, Washington Capitals. Obviously, I don't know if that. So what happened in that? He's one. I think he's the only Australian player to win the Stanley Cup. Probably right. So great for him. Shout out to him. Capitals actually acquired that pick, the Nathan Walker pick, and gave up 2 fourths. One of them was Ryan Mantha. The other was Igor Shesterkin. So oof there maybe. But hey, it worked out for Walker. I mean, they won a Stanley Cup, so it worked, and he was on the team that year they won.
Rob, any other final thoughts here on this draft before we head out here?
No, that's about it. I think obviously the Demko pick was probably the wildest one out of all of them, but I'm fine with it. I think he was gonna go.
You stand by that pick. You stand by that pick.
I stand by it. Yeah, I think it was a good pick. I could go on about the guys in here: Bunting, Heinen, Arvidsson. I'll shout out to Olsen again.
We almost went 2 hours again, and we didn't even talk football this time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's a lot of guys. Daniel Wolcott. A lot of guys in here.
Rav, thank you again for taking the time to do this. It's been great. We are going to be back next week to redo the 2016 NHL draft. We're also going to be doing another podcast with SYP creator Scott. We're going to be talking about the NHL Metro Division this year. We're going to be discussing the Ryder Cup. So be sure to tune into that later on this week. Thank you very much for all your support.
Yeah. Does Matthews or Lining go first? You'll see.
You will listen. You will get to know our reaction next week. Thank you very much. If you're watching this on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening on the audio version, follow us on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts. I don't know, whatever you do today. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back soon. Peace out.
Bye.